More than the government support, it is the cultural and the social shift and the norm is necessary.
Starting from home, right?
Your family needs to support you, the women, to go out and work. My grandmother, very independent, very enterprising. She was criticized for it too, because that was a very, closed society where women were not supposed to be too aggressive and be going out and entrepreneurial. But she dragged everybody out. She was the real force behind it. My grandmother, from my mother's side, she actually also very entrepreneurial. She ran this transport company, rickshaws, which she used to have a fleet of rickshaws, which she used to manage, because she was the one who used to run the financials of the family.
Thank you so much, Zafarji, for joining today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I'm very pleased to have you on board. I remember when we first met at the Commonwealth event that, it was fantastic listening to you talk about your book and your experiences. And I remember I went back home and I told my mum, I went to this amazing event, right? And I said, I met somebody called Zafar Masud and he was talking about his book and his experiences. And I said, I've never been so emotionally engaged in a conversation prior to that. Particularly when you go to book readings, it's very interesting, but I'm talking about emotional engagement.
Sure.
And I'll be honest, and this might be me in judgment, but I've never met a South Asian man who's so in tune with feelings and that kind of thing, Don't hate me, South Asian men.
You've been very generous with your compliments, really.
But,
Thank you very much.
Very, very nice to have you on board. And I just wanted to have a conversation with you about various things. So first of all, thank you for coming on board the Power Diaspora Forum. I would love to know more actually about you. Like, can you give me a bit of a background on even how you've got to your current position?
Yeah.
I would love to know your experiences in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I come from a squarely middle class family.
Okay.
Education has always been the center of everything in our family, in our household. So I got myself educated from the best university in Pakistan.
Wow.
Got my MBA done in banking,
Mm-hmm.
and then got into banking. And I have been, as they call it, 360-degree experience. I was very lucky in that sense. I worked for multinationals. I worked for public sector departments. I was an entrepreneur for 5-6 years.
Wow.
In the middle. I worked on the board of the regulator for the Central Bank of Pakistan.
Okay.
I am working for public sector entity. And that gave me a very good sense of how, the different sides of the table think and operate in.
Yeah.
So very lucky, consider myself very lucky in that sense. I also, by the way, worked for development financial institutions.
Okay.
For FCDO, I set up an entity called Infrazamin in Pakistan. I'm currently working as the president and CEO of the Bank of Punjab for almost 5.5 years. And it's been a pretty rewarding experience. Bank of Punjab, we have been able to increase the balance sheet size by 2.5 times since I took over. It's now almost $10 billion balance sheet, 14,000 employees.
Well done, well done.
I'm also the non-executive chair for the last 4.5 years for the largest entity in Pakistan in terms of market cap, which is Oil and Gas Development Company. This is the only company in Pakistan which is listed on the London Stock Exchange, with the market cap of around $3.5 billion.
Incredible, incredible.
I am currently serving as the chairman of Pakistan Banks Association, which is a very robust and effective trade body in Pakistan, which represents all the financial institutions which are regulated by the central bank. So that's about myself.
That's pretty spectacular. Almost.
But I take the pride in the fact. But I take the pride in the fact that I am an author.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somebody who has been able to do a lot of stuff on financial inclusion bit.
Yeah.
So on agriculture side, we are now the largest financial institution in Pakistan. On SME side, the largest. On low cost housing, again, the largest. And on especially on women entrepreneurship, we are the largest bank in Pakistan for the last 3 years.
Excellent.
And this is what I take the pride in.
Yeah.
I'm also also an author of international bestseller, which has already been sold 5,000 copies. It's translated into Spanish, already been launched. It's being translated into Urdu, and I'm getting some sketch notes done of this book as well. It's called Seat 1C, the talk that you came on at the Commonwealth Secretariat.
Yeah.
It's been received quite well, and I'm very pleased for that contribution of mine towards the humanity, really.
Yeah. And that's been incredible, right? Because I remember when we went through the talk for your book, you know, prior to that, I had a kind of rough indication of your experience and the things you were talking about. But actually, I just remember the room, there must have been, 25, 30 people in that
35
room. And they were really kind of, like I said, it was very engaging.
Yeah, it was.
And, you know, for us, obviously, we've not been through that experience, but it was interesting to see you talk about how this experience of that particular plane crash that you know, that's obviously, it's huge, you know, it's widely covered by the media, but how that experience shaped you and how that changed you. Now, for somebody who's came from such a corporate background, I know from my own corporate experiences in investment banking, you're very much, when you talk about being very corporate, you're very much you think about your feelings being very much closed off. You're very professional. Your conduct is very professional. It's less emotional. It's more practical. So it was very, very kind of powerful to see that transformation took place, and actually like how it changed you, like some of the kind of key insights I remember you gave towards the end of the talk about how you think it, you know, what you would like people to take away from the book.
Sure.
So maybe you can kind of run us through that. I know you know, you may not want to go through the experience again, but actually I'd be very keen to talk about what you want people to take away from your book. In terms of how would you want it to change me, for example, if when I read it, which I already have, and I have, you know, it's definitely had an impact on me. What would you expect or want for your reader to take away from it? Yeah,
so, you know, the most important learning in the book is that it's no position, no money matters at the end of the day. It's all about your relationship with people, your engagement with people, your impact on people. That is your real legacy. And the world revolves around people only. Things doesn't matter. Material things doesn't matter at all in life. And this is what have been my experience of this this horrible accident that I confronted with. And that led me to reinforce my earlier thoughts that empathy should be the center of everything that you do. You know, I have come up with the philosophy of management by empathy. Management by empathy means that you have to understand whichever sort of people you're dealing with, whether it's your internal customer, your external customer, your relations, your friends. Empathy is the key word. And it helps you understand other people's situation and then help you in dealing better with them, help in their improvement and them to then deliver something which is worthwhile, not just for them, but for the people around them as well. And this has been the real learning, the leadership learning in this whole episode has been it's about empathy. It's about management by empathy. And that's what I'm trying to drive through.
Let me ask you a question on that, actually. So one of the key things that I often talk about is one of the biggest drivers in my life has been empathy. So I'm, all my life. I feel like I've been drawn towards people and helping them and, you know, leading by service. I really enjoy it. At the same time, I'm a businesswoman, and I've had several people say to me, empathy can sometimes come in the way of business. Yeah. Okay. Personally, from my perspective, I don't think it has. I actually think it's been the driving force behind what I do. But I would like to know from your perspective, in that corporate banking world where you're at the top of the food chain, in the banking sphere particularly, has empathy helped you or got in the way?
Yeah. So, you know, empathy to begin with, is probably the most misunderstood term. People think that empathy means that you become too soft. You start giving too much leeway to other people. But that's not the reality. When I say management by empathy, that means that you understand other people's situation, work with their strengths and weaknesses, and then get the best out of them. You must give them the leeway to make mistakes, and that's how you make people entrepreneurial. But then you have to draw a line. You should allow people to make mistakes, but to an extent. After that, you have to be very strict and ruthless with them. Because if you don't do this, then the people who are delivering and doing better on these fronts, you will not be empathetic to them. And that's where the tricky piece comes through.
The balance.
The balance.
And the boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what is the key when it comes to empathy. People generally misunderstand this as softness, misunderstand this as at times putting your head in the sand. That's not the reality. It's about drawing a line, sticking to it, but do draw a line, keeping in view the fact that you still have to give people chances so that they can take decisions on their own, make mistakes, and you will be able to then guide them and help them to rectify it and improve themselves.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So it sounds like obviously you've had lots of, profound life's experience, which is very unique. Not everyone's been through, in fact, very rare and unique. Has any of that fed or dripped through into, so, I know you've done a lot of work through your banking career and otherwise for women, like I said, I think you mentioned some of the key indicators of that, all the kind of things you've done to support women in business, in the corporate sector. Tell me more about that, because that interests me, because, why has that been a particular focus, or why has there been a desire to do that? Is it been a push that's been received from elsewhere, or has it been something personal to you? I'd like to know more about why is it you've wanted to do better in that field, and then why you've particularly chosen those things for women, and why you choose to support women, actually.
So, women per se, I believe that it's not merely an economic imperative, it's also a social imperative. And when to my mind, women entrepreneurship is actually empowering women. An empowered woman is something which can empower the society, it can empower the community, and it can empower the nation. And that empowered women in a household will help other people to become empowered as well. So this has been my philosophy. Then there is economic imperative to it as well. 50% of the population in Pakistan is women, whereas in the workforce there's merely 25%.
Okay.
As opposed to the industry average of around 48-49%.
Okay.
Global average of around 48-49%. And if we will be able to reach the global average alone, I'm not even talking about exceeding that average, we're talking about increase in the GDP of around 1/4 times. Now, which means that we will be able to stack up around $100 billion in our GDP every year.
Wow.
And that is a clear-cut advantage of women financial inclusion, women entrepreneurship, and women empowerment.
Brilliant.
And following that, we decided that we will not just only talk about it, but we will prove that through the actions as well. In the last 3 years, Bank of Punjab has been consistently the number one bank in Pakistan in terms of women entrepreneurship. The 75% of the loans last year were disbursed by BOP alone to the women and in the entire industry.
75%
of the
That's
total.
incredible.
Yes.
That's for women alone.
3/4 of the total loans came from BOP alone.
Wow.
My theory here is we know that, and I call them frontier financing, I call them priority sector financing. In the world, everywhere, when you talk about these frontier financing or priority sector financing, the government support becomes very, very important.
Of course.
And this is not just the phenomena in emerging world, this is the phenomena in the developed world too.
Okay.
Whatever kind of priority that needs to be pursued, the government support is required and it comes handy. In our case as well, in women entrepreneurship, we have been able to garners a lot of support from the provincial government as well as from the federal government, but more so from the provincial government. And as you know, in Punjab, which is the majority owner of the Bank of Punjab, and almost 60% of population of Pakistan are led by the chief minister, by a women chief minister.
Yeah.
In fact, the senior minister is also a lady, and the minister for information is also a lady. So it's essentially a women-led province.
Is that a recent thing?
It's been there for 2 years.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Do you see a change in that direction coming?
Clearly.
Okay.
With her presence,
amazing.
You see a lot of inclination towards women empowerment, women inclusion, and that has helped us also in terms of making sure that on the financial inclusion front, riding on the back of her schemes and all, we will be able to bring in more women into the into financial inclusion space, especially through entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Not merely through the jobs.
Yeah. Amazing. Even just hearing that. So that's incredible. I didn't know that. That's kind of where, we often hear about the gap, particularly in South Asian countries, but it's very interesting to see how Pakistan is addressing that, or how things are changing or going in that direction.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing that 75% of loans, I mean, that's an incredible...
In the entire industry came from Bank of Punjab alone. And at the back of the Government of Punjab policies, the Chief Minister's initiatives, especially in the space of agriculture and SME. So the real impact on financial inclusion, these are the smaller loans to those women who have been working earlier under undocumented economy in an informal sector. Now they're in the forefront. They have access to funding officially. And once the track record is developed, then they can build on that track record and move forward.
That momentum. That's very good. That's very good to hear. One of the key things that I really want to focus on through the Power Diaspora Forum is creating that generational wealth, right?
Yes.
So of course, already I'm diaspora,
yes.
I'm Indian, so... Well, Indian but Scottish heritage, a bit of a unique mix there. But I'm very focused on, breaking glass ceilings.
Yeah.
Sometimes, most of them are invisible, if I'm honest. So, sometimes we have double glass ceilings.
Yes.
Not only we're in a different country, where then, there's a lot of generational piece that comes with that.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting on what you say. And then we often hear about, I of course travel to India quite often, but I often hear about the struggles in South Asian countries. But I do know that there's it's almost like an entrepreneurial wave that's taken place, and a lot of that has only been possible because of the support that's given. I believe until you can see something, you cannot wish to become it, right? Yeah. So I think there's many more role models out there, but particularly from a banking and a government perspective, you're absolutely correct. Until the government supports it, there's no infrastructure to help women climb that ladder.
That's correct.
Particularly, in our societies, women are seen as the primary caregivers.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But also, I think, my personal perspective is that since becoming a mother, I think it's actually been the accelerator of my entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because you learn to balance so much, and you attain a lot of the skills actually required in entrepreneurship. So, I mean, from your perspective, it's very interesting to see what's happening in Pakistan, particularly around the entrepreneurial wave. What is it that you think would help deliver better results in Pakistan? Like, you give me a bit of an idea on what you think where women could be helped. Is it funding? Is it access? And also, like, how do you see Pakistani women coming into the kind of globalization sphere? Because when I travel, particularly a lot to Dubai, I love to see the fact that, Indian women and Pakistani women, they're doing really well across the borders.
Yes.
And I'd love to see more of that. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so government support, as we've talked about, is there. More needs to be done, of course. But frankly speaking, more than the government support, it is the cultural and the social shift and the norm is necessary.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is still a kind of a glass ceiling, and as you said, double glass ceiling. I like this word actually, so I'm noting it down. Glass ceiling, and it's double glass ceiling for women. You need to have that societal support and cultural acceptance for women to be part of the workforce and the system. If you read my book as well, I have kind of agitated how this glass ceiling is broken for somebody. And when I put myself in that situation, coming from a middle class background, it comes through with the eco system support. It's the ecosystem support comes. Basically, the center of the ecosystem support is your family and your friends. So the starting point for anybody to break that glass ceiling to begin with has to come from the ecosystem support. Government can provide you two things. One, the financial support, and some kind of safe haven and workplace for you to go and work with, right? The laws have to be there, the protection has to be there, the harassment laws must be very robust, which in Pakistan, and especially in Punjab, are very, very robust.
Great.
However, there is still some kind of cultural and social barrier that women needs to clear, which is the second glass ceiling.
Yeah.
So the first glass ceiling, I would say, in terms of infrastructure and support from the government, is very much existent. Harassment of women at the workplace is something which is absolutely non-acceptable in Pakistan. And there are instances where people have taken to task, to the extreme task, for violating that. But on the cultural side, I think more needs to be done. On the social side, more needs to be done.
Starting from home, right?
That's what I said. The ecosystem, the core is the family. Your family needs to support you.
Correct.
The women to go out and work, and they are standing behind her for any support that's required by her. Now, it's not about the women alone. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
The family support is important for everyone, and women needed to be treated the same way in terms when it comes to requirement of that support as men. And I think there is more need to be done. There's still patriarchal values which are being pursued. Those need to be broken down, and more balanced approach is necessary for the support for women to go out and work.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree. I mean, even from personal experience, I would say the first glass ceiling you're trying to break is the social.
That's right.
And the one that comes from your domestic setup, right? So I think that's the first difficulty. But that's very, very interesting on how you perceive that. Tell me.
I can also give you another good news.
Yes, please do.
I think that's also changing now.
Sure.
Because people have realized the importance of women in the workforce, and you know the things are become very hard to maintain families with inflation and with cost of living going up.
Yeah.
So everybody has to contribute towards the financial pot of the family, and that's where the more acceptance for women to go out and work is surely evident, and that's really good news as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Absolutely.
In the last 3 years, by the way, we have been able to increase our number from 23% to 27% women participation.
Wow.
Which used to be 5-6 years ago around 18%.
So this is participation in terms of in
workforce
workplace
participation.
Okay.
27% are women.
Yeah.
73% are men.
Oh wow. Okay. But what an increase from 18%, right?
Yeah.
That's what an increase from. That's fantastic.
In the last, I would say, decade.
Yeah. Who have been like? I'd be very keen to kind of go back to your family life. Who have been the key influencers for kind of? Because I think this mindset of even wanting. Because I actually a lot of people think that even with the forum, when I'm trying to explain what we do, one thing that I'm very kind of keen to say is it's not about women being better than men.
Yeah.
We need men in our lives the same way to support us, right? So my biggest supporter, for example, is my father.
Yes.
So he was my key my key man who really supported me. And the only reason that I was able to come into entrepreneurship was because I had my dad's support. Yeah. And he was like, go for it, break the ceilings, do what you need to do. And he, really pushed me forward in that sphere. So I think that mindset starts from home. But I'd be really keen to know, these things are not just given to you or gifted to you. These are experiences you would have learned. So who have been the key kind of women influencers in your life? It's like your mother or your family or sister? I don't know, what's your setup?
Yeah. Mother was very much a center of for me to do, especially the financial inclusion piece and all.
Okay.
She has always been very focused on impact on people. But my father has always been a great supporter and a big supporter of women empowerment and women support.
Your father?
My father.
Okay.
Huge one. I think that has also come as a DNA in me.
Yeah.
That, we have to empower our women. We need to treat them equally. He was a big supporter of that. Always been. And interestingly enough, although on a lighter note, we were not as good as students as... we are 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
Not as good as students as a sister has been, which is the case in most of the houses, by the way. But he never held any resources back for her not to go and pursue her education in US. She went to University of Chicago. None of the brothers went abroad. I did go to NCED later on for a governance course, but he actually made sure that the resources are equally, if not more, available for my sister for her education and empowerment than to the boys.
Bravo. It's amazing.
If I were to look at women per se in my family, my mother obviously is a great influence. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, was another huge support for me in our family.
How interesting.
A very independent woman.
Really?
Very enterprising. She came from a family of very established, a group of people who were very accomplished in their own rights. And then she got married to my grandfather, who also was a very accomplished lawyer, but he was living in a village per se in India. And for her, the shift was substantial. Moving from Kalampur to Amroha was actually a big shocker. But she adjusted herself, and she adjusted herself really well. And she worked on women education and skill development in Amroha when she came there, because she was
back
the outgoing.
Wow.
Back
That's your grandmother, right?
This is This is pre-partition.
Pre-partition?
Yeah.
Really?
And she was the one who drove, the women in Amroha to come out and be more empowered, start working and all. And she was criticized for it too, because that was a very closed society where women were not supposed to be too aggressive and be going out and entrepreneurial. But she dragged everybody out. She was the real force behind it.
Okay.
And when she migrated to Pakistan, they didn't migrate at the time of partition, so they did not get any claims of their properties in India.
Okay.
They came there, they migrated in 1956. I've written all of this in my book, by the way. And when she came there, they were actually in a very bad shape. They used to be very well-to-do in India, but when they came to Pakistan, they were struggling financially. And at that time, she actually set up a maternity school in Karachi and started training girls how to knit, how to do the tailoring and all, skills that is necessary for women to become more empowered. And then she built on that one. She did it for economic reasons. In India, she was doing it for social reasons. But here she did it for economic reasons, and it turned out to be a great impact both financially and socially on the community and on our family too.
How entrepreneurial.
She was a phenomenal woman.
That's what you call entrepreneurial, right?
Phenomenal woman.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And then she encouraged all my aunts to be much more active. All of them have been very entrepreneurial. And my cousins as well. All of them are extremely successful in their world. My cousin who lives here, she's a very successful entrepreneur in UK. She runs these restaurants called Chili Chutney.
Oh, wow.
And she is, I think she got that, DNA inherited from my grandmother.
It's definitely, I think, something that passes along, right?
Yeah,
I think these things definitely pass along. But that's very interesting. So you've had.
By the way, my maternal grandfather, mother also, because my maternal grandfather was a philosopher, so he had very limited idea of how the business works. My grandmother, from my mother's side, she actually also very entrepreneurial. Really? She ran this transport company, rickshaws, which are there in Pakistan.
Yeah.
She used to have a fleet of rickshaws, which she used to manage, because she was the one who used to run the financials of the family.
And that's a very male-dominated piece, right?
Totally.
So I was quite shocking that you're saying it's very male-dominated.
It is.
My goodness. So very strong kind of matriarchal women that you've had in your life. So that definitely feeds through into mindset. And you're saying your father was a very big supporter of women.
Huge.
And that comes back to my point. I always say that actually when women, it's not that women need the help in standing up, but that support, I think, comes primarily from home.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And especially the male folks.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Entirely from there. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think, the father figure tends to play the greatest importance when it comes to particularly teaching. Like my dad was like, go for it, do this and do that.
So like you, my sister, by the way, is a very, she's done very well in her initial career as a journalist. Now she's working for JP Morgan. She's a vice president there.
Oh, wow.
And she's doing very, very well.
That's
she did her, from University of Chicago, she did her bachelor's. And then she did her master's from either George Washington University or Georgetown.
Wow.
One of the two. And now she's working for JP Morgan. She got the offer from Citibank and JP Morgan. She chose, she fell for JP Morgan. Although if she would have picked up Citi, then in our siblings, only one sibling is not in banking. My second brother is into filmmaking, but my drama making or filmmaking. But my younger brother was in Citi, I was in Citi, and she would have been Citi as well. Wow.
So you've all had that experience.
That's right.
How interesting. Very interestingly. And you have a very interesting family setup. You also have links to Hindi cinema. That's and this is where I really want to come into, right? Because obviously one of the things I know we talked about this when we were in Marlborough House as well,
Yes.
but the whole India-Pakistan unity and kind of peace, and I'm a big pro-peace person. Amongst all communities, but particularly with India, Pakistan, I see them as sister countries. My best friend is Pakistani. We've been friends for over 20 years. It's never came in the way. And one of the reasons that I love Dubai is Dubai to me is almost India, Pakistan pre-partition.
That's right.
Right? I love the way they amalgamate together, and I love the way that, we all kind of, we mix together, even in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
So I always think about, the political level, we let the governments do what they do, but underneath at a people level, I love seeing Indians and Pakistanis connect. Okay, it's not. I get a lot of stick for that, but I do really enjoy seeing that connect, and I do think it's really important for future, particularly for the people to be very connected. And I try and aim, even with business, even through the Power Diaspora Forum, I try and ensure that the work with women is borderless.
Yes.
So where there's opportunities for Indians and Pakistanis and entrepreneurship to come together, to me that's important. I would love to hear about kind of your experiences, and you obviously came, your family obviously came from India originally, pre-partition, and just your
a large part of
thoughts.
the family is still there.
Still, large part of the family still there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
do you have much interaction? And
Yes,
Yeah,
very much
okay.
so.
Oh, fantastic.
Very close. We are very close to them. My aunts are there. My uncles are there.
Wow.
Very close. Obviously, the Indian community would know Kamal Amrovi Saab. His daughter is there. And they're all settled there. My grandfather, the famous poet, his younger brother was this very famous poet, John Elia. His elder brother was again a very famous poet, Rais Amrovi. My grandfather, Sayyid Muhammad Taqi. They were all their sister and their only one sister.
Yeah.
And her children are also based in India.
Okay.
So we are very closely connected. At the human level, you see, the borders should not matter. The politics should not creep in. And whether it's India or Pakistan or anything else, there shall not be any, at a human level, should not be any friction. And this is what I believe in as well. So when the Indian crash happened, I tried to approach the only survivor there, just to show my solidarity that this is a very unfortunate accident, and we Pakistanis feel the pain. We have been through a similar situation 5 years ago, and we feel the pain and we share the pain of our Indian counterparts there. Unfortunately, he is not in a very good position to meet up, but I did try and approach him. And I believe at the human level, we should be more, we should have better connections and show more magnanimity in terms of dealing with people.
I love that, Zafarji. To me, that's wonderful. It's about the unity and peace. Kai, sorry, can you just...
So sorry, I've been waiting 30 minutes
Oh,
now. You have to
okay,
wrap it up now.
okay,
So
two
sorry,
ticks,
yeah?
last one. Almost done. Okay, Zafarji. So I think we should probably wrap up then in that case. Thank you.
So just to share with you, when I was in Zambia for 3 years, the closest family to me was an Indian family, Indian descent family, and their mother, my friend Raj and his sister Bobby, their mother always treated me as the third child.
Very nice.
And she actually meant it.
Yeah.
And that's such a great feeling,
Yeah.
So really at the human level, we should not talk about these borders at all.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. And just before we go very quickly, I know we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for the Power Diaspora Forum? Anything you'd like to ask? And
So I must say that you've taken a great responsibility on yourselves, and this is something which is very, very important for in our parts of the world for the development and financial inclusion. We are currently working on Pakistan's skill impact bond or social impact bond, and we would like at some point in time to approach the diaspora to come and participate in this. And if the Indian diaspora would also like to contribute. I think this will send a very positive message that, whatever happens at the political level, at the human level, we are the same. And we care about the people at that level. And at that time, I would like you to play a more pronounced and active role in the process of getting the outcome funding arranged from the diaspora, both Pakistani and Indian.
Absolutely. And I think the Power Diaspora Forum would gladly and happily support that and fully work with you on that, because that's one of our key aims is the financial wealth creation for women, but also giving them that empowerment, not just through talk, but through action. So we'll more than happily ensure that we work together and collaborate on that. But thank you so much, Zafarji, for coming today.
Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Same here.
And look forward to many more collaborations. Thank you so much.
Inshallah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.